I want to kick off here with the story of the passing of Pat Quinn. Of course, spent more than 4 decades in the NHL as a player, head coach, and general manager. Passed away at the age of 71. And also the owner of the Vancouver Giants, a guy who had a lasting impact on the world of professional hockey over the decades. Bill, I know you and Pat had a great relationship together. What crossed your mind as soon as you heard the news about Pat Quinn?
Well, I was shocked because I didn't know that it had advanced that far. And after Monday's Hall of Fame celebration, when they mentioned that Pat was sick, I knew that he was sick, and mentioned him in the same category as Gordie Howe and one other who was not well, Jean Boulet. And so I said to the Duchess, I said, I've got to call Pat. I didn't realize. So anyway, I talked to one of my media friends in Toronto and said, oh, no, they just mentioned that. He's not that sick. So I had called probably a month before, and you couldn't get through. So anyway, when it came, the news came on Monday, I was heartbroken, first of all, and probably should have been better prepared for it. But the last time I talked to Pat was in June, and we talked about a lot of things, and I said, Pat, how are you? And he said, I'm okay, Willie. He said, you know, as we grow older, and I corrected him because he's actually 6 months older than I am. I brought that up as well. He said, you know, some of the parts, they slow down and aren't as useful anymore, and they have to be replaced. Well, I had no idea how serious that commentary was, and when the time came for him to leave us, I was still shocked and perhaps should have been better prepared for it. But wonderful friend and a wonderful guy.
What do you think Pat Quinn's legacy is in the game of hockey?
Well, Pat Quinn's legacy will be a coach who, in spite of outward exterior, had a soft heart, had a compassion for his players, and had a love for the game. I can remember talking to Pat on a number of occasions. We'd talk about teams we played that had a left wing lock or they had a center ice trap. Pat would say, that's not the way the game's supposed to be played. This is a beautiful game. We have to continue to have creativity. We've got to use our speed. We've got to make the puck do most of the work. And none of this trap shit. And so anyway, Pat always had an aggressive team offensively, always on the puck aggressive, tried to create the turnovers in our offensive zone, the other team's defensive zone, as opposed to trapping them and transitioning them to death. So Pat's teams and his games subsequently, if he played a team that liked to play that way, were very entertaining. And I think over the 5 years, people will tell you that Pat Quinn coached hockey the way it was supposed to be played. And that will be his legacy. And that's what he would be very proud of, because he loved the game. It was a game of beauty, and you could only have beauty if you had creativity and if you had an open mind as to how you were going to play it, and the best skaters and the best puck handlers win. Tactic is important, but tactic that takes away from the game was what Pat did not like, and tactic like that has won many Stanley Cups, unfortunately.
Do you think that's why he did so well with the Canadian Olympic team? Of course, ended that huge gold medal drought for us in 2002. He finally had the horses, so to speak, where he could just go and let them play a free-flowing game and get that kind of result that he wanted.
Yeah, Pat, he didn't have a lot of time with those guys, but hey, he won. And I think if you look at how Babcock won, you know, we had our moments of doubts, but he knew what he was doing. I think Pat was in the same position. He was also the same coach that went to Torino and didn't have success. Mm-hmm. So how do you attribute one successful venture against another? I don't know. But I know in the 5 years that I spent with him, the more time you spent with Pat Quinn, the more you realize that he was a player's guy. He liked you to reciprocate and make him even fonder of you. Some guys didn't quite succeed at that. But at the end of the day, Pat wanted you to be part of his family, and if you were, you played a lot. He didn't bother you. As Curtis Joseph said, I knew I was playing every night unless Pat told me differently. So there was never any doubt in anyone's mind on any of Pat's teams as to line they were playing on. You're part of my team. Or as he said about Sergei Berezin, who he visited in the hospital, and Sergei opened up his eyes to find Pat there. When asked why, Pat said, Sergei was one of my guys. I had to be there. Wow. And that's the way he is. He was not misunderstood, but he was a very bright guy, articulate beyond anyone's knowledge. And I just, as I said in one of my Twitter accounts, Pat was a guy that the time you spent with him in hockey, and it's always a learning experience for any of us to be associated with a guy, with a genius like Pat Quinn. And Pat Quinn's genius was communication. And at the end of my 5 years with Pat, as regrettable as it was that I was not renewed, and he had another year in his contract, that was part of a decision made well above Pat and I. And I felt at the end of that term that I should never forget how fortunate I was to be involved in a game like hockey and to have had exposure to a guy who loved that game so much.